and taking a look at what that means. Of course, now Arsenal have played one more game than Manchester City, and Arsenal sit 4 clear at the top of the table. Ali with us, Stevie as well. We welcome in Jürgen Klinsmann. Jürgen, how on earth did that happen?
Yeah, super interesting game. Obviously, we all thought it's all going Arsenal's way, and I mean, watching the first half, it looked like they were in cruise control. They scored the first goal with Saka's goal, and then second half started a bit differently. Second half, Wolves came far more alive, but in that phase, then Hincapie scored the second goal for Arsenal, and everybody thought this is over, this is done. And I think always when you have that feeling that it's done, then exactly the opposite will happen to you. And Wolves came back with a beautiful goal from Moreno, and then obviously in the last second, then with the own goal then from Calafiori. But I think it was well deserved for Wolves because they showed character. Yeah, they had a good positive body language second half, and they gave it a try all the way till the end, and therefore they deserved that tie.
5 points the difference now between City and Arsenal. City with a game in hand, Stevie, just 2 wins in their last 7. Yep. What the heck?
Do you know, I think what has snuck up on everybody, certainly has on me, is that back line, including the goalkeeper, that we thought was impregnable at the start of the season. We waxed lyrical, how great, how tight, how organised, they don't give anything away, they don't make mistakes. Well, that's 11 points in the last 7 games they've thrown away. There's only been 1-0. So that means they're losing goals. Yeah. And as I said, it's kind of snuck up on us. But that really is where the problem is defensively. Because as much as they're not exactly playing silky soccer and creating thousands of chances and scoring loads of goals, they're still scoring enough goals to win games. But that back line isn't doing its job anymore. And so that has to be what Mikel Arteta has to figure out and sort out. Because, as I said, going forward, they're scoring enough goals. But defensively, that impregnable Arsenal line is no longer impregnable.
How much did complacency play a part today?
I think it did. And at 2-0, and Jürgen mentioned it, it felt like it was over. And as we say so many times in this studio, it's one thing that we think it's over, miles and miles away from the stadium, but the players themselves felt it was over, and that's where they make the mistake. And it's not something that we're used to seeing from Arsenal in terms of not being able to see out a game. What we have learned from Arsenal this season is that, look, they're not all that convincing, but they do enough. They'll get a set-piece goal, and they'll see out a game because, to Stevie's point, defensively, they have been very solid. And that just wasn't the case today, and I will go as far as to say that after the Bukayo Saka goal, Arsenal should have been in control, and while we expect them to have possession of the ball, Wolves were always in this game. But you have to, if you're Arsenal, you have to not only see out the game, but thrive in the end of matches against teams of this quality. You should be able to keep the ball. You should be able to take the possession into the attacking half. You should be able to withstand pressure from Wolves. You should be able to do that. Because if you're not able to do that, what you have done is that you're dead set on keeping Manchester City interested. And it's what they have done over the last few weeks in those results that you just mentioned, that run of results. Manchester City has their own problems. But the longer you allow them to hang around, now it creates a situation in which, hey, maybe we do have a chance. Maybe we're not that far off. Maybe it's not Arsenal going to run away with it. And Arsenal themselves are going to think, well, maybe we're not running away from this. It's now an actual title race.
Yeah, it is indeed, Jürgen, and we know it, and the players and the coaches very much know it as well.
Yeah, it's the whole psychology of things. You know, if you give away a game like this today, and where you're really, I mean, first half totally in cruise control, second half you score the second goal, you've got to kind of get these 3 points no matter what, but you give it away. That starts kind of triggering a little bit in your head other thoughts, you know, and so far the season went so well until the last few weeks, you know, in the Champions League in first place and the Premier League in first place, so everything looked so perfect for Arsenal, and suddenly it starts to crumble, and yeah, it's dangerous, you know. Obviously, Man City now they watch it, they see it, they are right there, or they're gonna go. They have one game in hand. and then let's start with the knockout phase then in the Champions League. So it's going to be interesting to see now how this group gathers back together and approaches now the next games. And obviously the next game is already on Sunday against Tottenham.
Jürgen, how do you keep out the noise as a manager? What's Arteta? What does he have to do?
Well, as a manager, obviously you try to tell them non-stop, be aware of this, be aware of that, to just wake up. You try to give them a wake-up call. When they scored the first goal, beautiful goal, by the way, by Bueno, Wolves, you have somehow need a reaction in terms of somebody screams at somebody and is a chain reaction of energy to wake up again and to get these 3 points. And so it's communication at the end of the day. And if that is not happening, then slowly, Wolves, sees the opportunity, sees a chance and puts them under pressure, even if they're last and by far last in the Premier League. Doesn't matter anymore because now they have the momentum, now they have the energy and they're pushing until the very last second of the game. So as a manager, you try desperately to communicate that onto the field, but then it depends on who takes that word and communicates it within the team. So who are your leaders then when, they made the 2-1 and it's getting a little bit tricky here. So who is now standing out? Who's screaming around? Who wakes the other one up and make sure that you get the 3 points at the end of the day? So that's how it all has to do with chemistry then from the inside.
Steve, you won 5 league titles.
Yeah.
Everyone has their blip on these runs.
Yeah.
This is a major blip for Arsenal. Considering what's happened in previous seasons as well, where we thought maybe this was their year, psychologically, how do you deal with this as a player?
As a player, you have to make sure you get your job done first. I mean, that's at the end of the day, it's all about all the pieces of the puzzle, the 11 men on the field. If every single one of them plays to the level, both physically, mentally, the preparation. I mean, it encompasses absolutely everything. But that's the first thing you have to do. But if I was Arteta, I think that would be the worry. And the biggest worry, and by the way, to answer your question, there's more than a blip.
Right.
Taking 10 points from the last 7 games is more than a blip.
Right.
And the biggest worry I would have as a player and as the manager is what happened in the second half when it went to 2-1. Everybody disappeared. Where were the players who go, right, okay, now we have to take control again? That means that we have to win our battles. That means that we have to be organised. That means that we don't give them a second on the ball. That means that we all have to start closing again. Yes, when you're 2-0 up, sometimes even the best teams can just drop off a little. But I'll tell you what the best teams do, when that punch in the face comes, they respond to it. And that would be the worry. Arsenal didn't respond this time.
You asked the question, how do you keep the noise out?
Yeah.
And honestly, right now, I don't think you're going to try, but you really can't. Because beyond the noise that you're hearing from the outside, now you have noise in your head, in your own head as a player. Where there was certainty before, now there is doubt. And then you have the nightmare that is a cell phone. Because these players and this generation live and die with this thing. And when in their algorithm, in their timeline, what's going to come up? Arsenal struggles again. Yep. Arsenal drops points again. So the noise, while as a manager, ideally you want to keep it out, it's now part of the conversation. And you have made it part of the conversation that you may just give this away, that you may just choke this away. That is the conversation that now surrounds Arsenal from here on out. Now, it doesn't mean that they cannot go on and win this thing, but they're really going to have to go back to winning the duels, winning challenges, doing the things that make them a good team. And in moments of pressure, instead of hiding, instead of actually finding the time on the ball and the space on the ball and the movement on the ball, you have to find a way to see these games out in a far more comfortable manner than what we saw today. Whereas in games in the past, and I'm not going to suggest over this blip or not blip, but I would say a month ago, maybe even 2 months ago, you would have certainly said, Arsenal have the look of a champion. They did not look like a champion today. Far from it.